What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Life's a Garden. Today's guest has been a figure in the Billings community for a very long time. He's the lead singer and frontman of the band Repeat Offenders, who you can see this Thursday at Alive After 5, downtown Billings under the Sky Point. They're looking to make this the biggest Alive After 5 event that they've ever seen. So get down there. It's going to be a great time. We'll see you there. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Kenn Patterson. Kenn, nice. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Appreciate it.
First time.
Yes.
We've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah, we have. Thanks for having the old guy on.
Oh gosh, I've had
Your viewership's going to go down. They're going to be like, "What's this old guy got?"
yeah, right. I've had plenty of old guys on. I've had
Oh, good.
family and all that. So
Right on.
big show coming up this week.
We do. Yeah, our Live After 5. So always excited for that one. You know, I think we've been privileged to be able to play for, I think, one of the favorite locations. You know, always downtown under Sky Point just draws in a lot of people, and then we'll take the crowd that comes along with that any day. So
It's my favorite Alive After 5 spot.
I think a lot of people have that. It's just downtown Central Billings. They're familiar with the area, so they don't, you know, the people that don't come downtown a lot might actually show up for some of those. So I think there's some benefit for it for sure.
Last year was crazy. It was like, wasn't it the biggest they ever had?
Supposedly, you know, there's always that little talk going around, you know, the largest one. And I still think to this day that the one that I remember being the largest was not one where they were selling wristbands yet, so they probably didn't actually have a head count. But the Wingdinger convention was in town, and it was all of Broadway, past the light, past Sky Point, and we were actually set up down by the Crystal area.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it went all the way across down through. There was thousands of people there, but you know, they didn't have any way of tracking back then and stuff. But it's always kind of a fun little thing, competition. It's like, oh, who's got the largest? I mean, it does help draw people down too, because they want to be part of those kinds of things. So
Right.
years and years ago, I just did some, you know, false media, if you will. I said, slated to be the largest Alive After 5 ever. Had no backing as to why. I just said it. News picked it up, helped promote it a little bit. I was like, well, that worked. It was
That's marketing.
unintentional, but it worked out. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that spot is just good for that size because, for one, you got all those extra bars there so people can go in and out.
100%.
It's all shaded off right there, usually by that time because all the buildings.
Yeah. I just love that space in general. I mean, even last night, the Pride festivals that were going on,
Mhm.
DJ going on down there, and I'm like, we need more of that. Close that street down every weekend. And I know it's been talked about throughout the years, you know, having plans, you know, to actually close it down, put some trees out there, make it like a walking district type of thing. But more events need to just be popped up down there. Bring in a stage, you know, whether it's just once a month, not just Alive After 5, but on a weekend, keep it open till 11 or whatever, and get some DJs down there pumping, or bands, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool to block it off as a walking street.
Yeah.
Where you could still have the through traffic obviously going
Yeah.
just kind of like 16th Street.
Yeah. Down Denver. Yeah. Years ago, I saw plans for it, where they actually had it all kind of mapped out what it would look like. But then there was talk about the one Big Sky Center going in, and what I understood, you know, there's only 3 access across the tracks. So for like an emergency situation or whatever, if that was going to happen, they couldn't also shut down, you know, Broadway. So it was kind of in flux if that idea was there. But as far as I know, nothing's going to happen as big as what one Big Sky was going to be. So I'm like, let's bring back that idea and close down.
Yeah,
Broadway.
whatever happened to that?
I think it just, from what I understand, again, the thoughts on what that would look like ultimately, instead of like being so condensed in a certain area, they kind of reposition the idea to kind of expand further up the street. But I think even that plan kind of fizzled. So I really don't know the politics, I guess, maybe
Right.
that are happening behind it.
I'm sure it all comes down to
Yeah.
political shit.
Well, and I'm sure, you know, outside investors, you know, out of state investors, people get a little leery about that. But I'm like, we're not going to do it here, let's bring in somebody to get her done.
It sounded like a cool idea.
I love the idea. I live right downtown, so I was all for it, even though there was talk of this 24-story building that would go up right behind my place. But I'm like, you're going to block your view of your mountains? I'm like, well, I didn't move downtown to have views of the mountains.
Right.
So if I want to have views of the mountains, I'll move out somewhere else.
Exactly. Well, and then there's also, I keep hearing changing thoughts about what might go on at the Metra. Like they were talking about maybe doing an amphitheater out there.
Oh.
They were talking, they had all these different plans and like
Where the horse racing used to be?
Yeah.
Oh, right on.
Like I picture it up against the rocks there, just like
I see what you're
maybe not built into the rocks, but you could kind of just build it around the rocks there.
That would be super cool if they could pull something off.
But it's just like you hear about it and then all of a sudden nothing, then it just kind of goes quiet.
Yeah.
That happens all the time. Like I heard we were going to get a Top Golf here.
I heard the same too.
And then all of a sudden that just kind of went by the wayside. Nobody talked about it no more.
Yeah, I think a lot of those ideas come up. I don't know if they put some studies behind it or just can't find, the justification to ultimately make it happen. Top Golf, I could see being, if it's a legit one, like I know, with the outdoor kind of aspect, we're seasonal. So how do you pull that off?
Well, I mean, Denver has 2 of them.
True. Yeah. I guess, just figure out a way to make it happen. So
that's the one downside, is like you see that we've seen that happen throughout, like Big Splash went down because they just. All right, sorry about that, everybody. We had a little bit of audio issues. We were just talking about it being hard to maintain certain outdoor activity things around here because of the weather, but we also were talking about how there are a lot of things to do around here.
Yeah,
and I think the music scene's growing.
It is. Yeah,
we got that for us, and
yeah, I'm always excited about the local music. I mean, with time, I think I've probably leaned more to wanting to go out and watch local bands than the larger bands, except for obviously the pub station. It's still intimate, so you get some bigger names there. But I've been to plenty of large concerts and stuff, and you lose that intimacy a little bit. And I'm not necessarily one to kind of knock bands that are using all the backing tracks. If used, in my opinion, correctly, to truly supplement the song, not necessarily replace stuff. But so many of the larger bands I've gone to, it's like might as well just sat home and listen to the CD. I like hearing what are new kids doing or new bands doing, because I steal something from all of them, whether, it's like a solo acoustic thing or a genre that I don't even necessarily listen to or something that we don't do. There's little nuggets of stuff that, kind of like what they did there. Or, how could we work something like that? And then obviously you can learn what not to do.
Right.
You can learn so much. I mean, so yeah, getting out and seeing music, especially if you are a musician, I think it's so key. You can sit in your garage and jam all day, think you sound great, but you need some of that other sugar and spice, to throw in there too. And I think going and watching it and seeing what others are doing is probably the best way to do it.
Well, it's nice too with you being downtown there. Everything's just right there.
Yeah, there is that. My friends remind me all the time, like, you can just walk out your place, and I'm like, come on, it's only a 5-minute drive from anywhere here in town.
Right. So, yeah, I've been the same with you. I've noticed myself going to more just local shows than going to I mean, there's been plenty of shows that I'm like, oh, that might be cool to go to, and then I realize, oh, that's tonight. Like, it just sneaks up, and I'm just like, oh, I wasn't even paying attention, like, when that was coming up.
I found some, not even local bands, but smaller, groups that have just been passing through. It's been years ago now, but it's at the gym, riding the bike, and pub station posted sound check of Aaron Jones in the Way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, who's this? These guys sound pretty cool, So I sent it to my buddy John that plays in the band with me, and I'm like, hey, you want to go check this out? It was like a Tuesday night, so random, like literally like we'll meet in 30 minutes. We ran down there, probably only 20, 30 people there, and the band just killed and fell in love with them. And they've now since been back a few times, also gained some popularity. They're out of the Seattle area, went to a Kentucky music festival, and they got to play on the main stage down there. It was earlier in the day, but it was cool to see, like they were probably just getting gas and some money and passing through, Tuesday night.
Right.
And to see them kind of grow. And now when they come back, it's still probably tap room side level. I think actually they might've been on the ballroom last time we saw them, but high energy. If you ever get a chance to check them out, Aaron Jones in the Way, just super cool guitar player. I think 3-piece bass player, super fun to watch. So yeah, I mean, a lot of opportunity. Like I said, you just got to stay in tune with what's going on. People that are saying there's nothing going on or to do in this town, they're just put your ear to the grindstone here a little bit.
Right. Well, and it's like I don't know what people want. Like,
Right.
and it's true, a lot of the things that happen around here do involve like bars and drinking and stuff like that. That's kind of like, and if that's not your vibe, I kind of understand.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's outdoor stuff to do. There's hikes, there's trails, there's,
Heck yeah.
you know, like we were talking about. I don't know if I can't remember if it was in the audio that got cut or not, but we got the sports teams and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Music, you know.
I don't watch baseball, football, or anything much anymore, on TV. But man, I love myself, going to a baseball game here in town, and I'm probably out socializing more than I'm watching the game and stuff. But
It's still something to do.
it's something to do. Yeah, played with my grandson out in the grass, for most of the game last time we were there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I wasn't there for the game. I was there for the community and that kind of vibe. So you can find stuff anywhere around here. There's always something going on. Check out the Enjoy. They list things every week, or get on Facebook, whatever
I'm sure there's an
your media is.
online Enjoy
I'm
thing
sure.
that you can find too.
Yeah. So,
And they've been doing like more stuff down, just with like whether it's like festival, like kind of like the Pride thing,
right.
Just different things like that. There's the farmers market,
Yep.
There's
that's
always
coming
something.
up July, I think. Yeah, Strawberry Fest starts. I'm like plugging the DBA here or something.
Yeah, right.
Check out the DBA's page. For downtown events.
Well, and even like the Alive After 5, like those are
Yep.
cool, just community get-togethers and they've been doing that for a long time.
Long time, yeah. I don't even know when they officially first started Alive After 5, but we're actually going to Bozeman here. I'll miss the last Billings Alive After 5, but getting a chance to check out the music on Main and Bozeman, I'm really curious to see what that's about. I've never been to that before. Have you been up to that one at all?
Is it kind of similar?
As far as I know, yeah. And obviously, just the way Bozeman is, everything is kind of right on that main street. So, versus downtown Billings here, where we kind of move it around and stuff. I think they've got that they have the benefit that everything's kind of right there in that same location and stuff. So, mostly just curious to see what it's about. We tried getting on it this year. There's an application process and missed out on it. So, it's one of those things over time. You just got to get to know people.
Yeah, I mean it's a step toward getting to
Exactly.
that. So
Yeah, start the conversations.
exactly. So how long have you guys been doing the Alive After 5 because you do it every year, right?
Yeah, we took a break because we'd played it for a bit, and gosh, I'm trying to remember when our first one was. It's probably been over 10 years ago at least, and probably a little bit longer. I quit the band. Pat Michaelis, another singer, he's since moved away, but he stepped in, sang for a year with the band, and I don't think they did an Alive After 5 with him. So then the band was no more for a while, and then right after COVID, I felt like I had a social responsibility to bring the fun back to town, so I rebooted the band. Tried to get the original members at that time. There was a gal that played keyboard, Tana. She was busy with life, so she couldn't do it, and that's what put us on the the hunt for another person in the band. Tried a bunch of keyboard players and all kinds of stuff, and just weren't finding that right thing, and got Jay in the band. So after that, I then, with the excitement around repeat offenders, I guess, being back, and having had played Alive After 5 before, we're able to get back on the bill thanks to Sean Graves. He's been a great partner for us, since we started back in the day. I don't remember any other bands actually having played in Hooligans before, but we worked out something with him. We brought stages in.
Inside?
Yeah, back in the back area.
Nice.
They were kind of trying to do like a DJ thing, dance club kind of vibe back there for a while too. So they had some lighting system stuff set up. So yeah, he was letting us play in Hooligans back in the day, and we did New Year's in there and stuff. And so we had a great partnership. We were still kind of I'll say a bar band at that time. We really hadn't tried to position ourselves as an event band like we are now, but that's where you got to cut your teeth. It's like Squire. Played many shows at the Squire. That's probably where I'd say our starting ground was back in the Squire days with the previous ownership. He was very supportive of the band as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because they do those bike nights and stuff where just out in the parking lot a lot of times.
Yeah. So, I guess long story short of how our partnership with the Squire and then kind of the formation of repeat offenders, I was in a rock band, original rock band, just playing guitar, sang backup a little bit or whatever, but got fired from that band. And it was kind of around the time, it was right after the smoking ban. Patios were starting to get put on to different bars and stuff. And at that time, though, there wasn't really service to the patios. And then that started becoming something. So patios were really starting around the time this all happened. I'm like, well, I'm just going to scale myself down, grab an acoustic, just learn some like metal songs, Megadeth, Slayer, but strip them down and trick people into liking Slayer or something. Never really ended up going that route, but did a lot of like, Stone Temple Pilots, Alice in Chains kind of songs, that's like, oh, that's kind of my vibe, what I play or like to listen to, except for true metal, which I just couldn't pull off on the acoustic like I wanted to.
Yeah.
So as a joke though, because my kids were listening to it, and it was popular at that time, was Kesha's TikTok had came out. So I was using a looper, put together a little looping track, kind of on the fly there, and started singing Kesha TikTok, and I got more accolades for that song than like Stone Temple Pilots, Alice in Chains. I'm like, what's wrong with y'all? But I was like, maybe I'm onto something here. So started working a little more pop songs in, some more current, some were more old. But I'm like, oh, let's figure out how I can pull that in. And as a solo acoustic thing, started getting some traction on that. Got asked to play something larger. I can't remember if it was like a Fix It 6 or something like that back in the day. They wanted me to do it. I'm like, I don't want to be on a big stage, just acoustic by myself. I don't think
that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be the right vibe for that kind of crowd. I'm like, let me throw a band together real quick. And I remember I was at Gordy's out on the West End when I got the call. So I called up Dusty, the drummer now. I'm like, hey, you want to throw a band together real quick? We'll just play kind of the songs I'm playing, but I'll do electric guitar, just so it's easier on myself, a little bit. And Dennis Mallew, who's bass player in town, he was the third. So we were a three-piece to start out. And it was, I always say it's kind of, they were a little more punk feeling just because I was power chording everything up, playing my Dave Mustaine Jackson V. It just didn't look right,
and playing TikTok.
Yeah, playing TikTok, playing these pop songs. Yeah, I remember we did Adele. It was all these kind of like just odd songs for how at least I felt like I looked with my V up there and stuff. It was pretty funny. But as that kind of progressed a little bit, I'm like, it's not visually what I want, and I'm not adding the guitar, parts that I want. I wanted to stay a little truer to the melodies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what led us on the search to actually kind of make it more of a five-piece style band, and evolved, through a few different members until we got to where we are now. So
nice.
Yeah.
I noticed that too whenever you guys play more of the pop songs and stuff like that, there is a bit of a crowd reaction just because it's something I don't think people expect.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of tongue in cheek, for a lot of those songs for us. Because I always say, it's either songs you loved or hated back in the day. If you would ever ask me back 25 years ago if I'd be playing New Kids on the Block, I said, can I cuss on here?
Yeah, of course.
I would have said, fuck off, I'm never playing that. Well, here we are. So that's some of our top tracks is hit the boy bands, but we're all ex-rockers, so we have a little bit of rock element into it. But like I said, we like to stay true to the melody because in my opinion, if you're doing a cover band and you take that away from the people and that familiarity, you're going to disconnect with them a little bit. And so I not that I can sing like some of I can't sing Whitney Houston, but as long as I can grunt the lyrics and kind of stay in the melody and keep people singing along, that's kind of what our job is. I guess.
It's never even about trying to replicate either. Like you're doing your own version of those songs.
Yeah. You want your own version. You got to make it and find our energy. We have a term. Let's RO it up. Like we'll play a new song for the first time at rehearsal. Yeah, played all the parts, sounded okay, but it was missing something. We don't even know what it is. We just call it the RO factor. It's like that little energy. So once we get kind of confident in the parts, all right, let's open it up. Let's RO it up. And usually that just comes with Dusty hitting maybe a little bit harder. You get locked into the parts and just pretend like you're jamming over the track, but how you would play it. And pretty soon you hit a take and you're like, that's kind of where it was. Like whatever we just did there.
Yeah.
Sometimes can't even explain it, but that vibe is what you want to go for. And sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. You take it out and it's like, yeah, that kind of fell flat. So how
do you guys go about choosing which songs you're gonna just practice or which ones you want to like throw into the mix?
Yeah, it's kind of we obviously we have a feeder list, we call it, on Spotify. So if we've found tracks that we think will work, we'll drop them into there. As we've committed them to our set list and they kind of become something, we have another Spotify playlist that has all of our songs on it. It's only for our reference. We just share it on amongst the band or whatever. So we'll run that playlist and then you get all the recommended songs that come along with it. So some of those will start to bubble because thank you to the algorithm, I guess, kind of helps figure out what we are too.
Right.
And we're like, damn, they're recommending some good tracks here. So we'll find things just through that. Something that's kind of been on our back burner, songs that we've talked about in the past, and we'll sit down, probably pick three, one that we prioritize the highest, two, three. So when we show up to the next rehearsal, at least we have that first one ready to go and jam on, and then we'll kind of work our way through the three, see how they feel. Sometimes all three might make it, at least for some continued efforts. Some might get ditched right away, like, why invest all the time when there's another one out there? Let's just go find another one. So trying to find that balance of how much time you commit to investing in something and what you think the reward's going to be. But like I said, even some of that we've kept in. You get out and play it, and you're like, maybe it was just more cool for us because it didn't really work with the crowd. Maybe give it 3 tries, just so you have some data to kind of work with a little bit before we bang it out, But we've got some songs, that we'll probably throw back in every now and then if they were simple, it doesn't take a lot of thought to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's kind of just kind of keep testing things a little bit and see what works. And House of Pain, Jump Around obviously is one of our favorite tracks. People just like the idea of it, the movement. You can get the whole crowd, and we're like, we gotta find our next Jump Around. There's so many videos of that. Like, what's that next one gonna be that has that kind of same, kind of response to it?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I guess like you were saying, you really don't know if a song is going to go over until you play it live. Mm-hmm. Like, there's only one real testing ground to figure out. Is this one that people are vibing with? Or is this one that, and then you never know. Maybe you get one that you didn't expect to pop off that does.
We had a really cool example or situation that is going to hopefully test itself out here soon. We played St. Patty's Day here just recently, and there was a guy in the crowd that was holding up his phone, and I couldn't, my eyes are bad, I'm old, couldn't read it at first, and finally I squinted him just perfectly, and it said three doors down, Kryptonite. So he was trying to flash songs for us to cover. Well, the band as a whole didn't know it. I think Johnny knew the guitar part a little bit or whatever. Well, I just start a cappella singing it, and next thing I know, the whole crowd is singing Kryptonite. We're like, damn, we never actually thought about that song. Should we try it, right?
Yeah.
So we're playing it for our first time here, coming up at Alive After 5, see how it works, because what we're worried about was this little a cappella weird connection moment, and that's what worked. And the song may not. So we're really curious to see if we read that right, or was that just one of those weird kind of moment things where, people just wanted to sing along with something, and it worked in that setting, but not as like us playing the song.
I mean, even if it might be, if it doesn't go, or if it didn't go over, it might be interesting to try it again where you just start with the acapella and then as everybody's singing it and then go into the song.
Exactly, yeah. And it's had a similar thing like that with All Star.
Okay.
Somebody. I was going to try to mimic the videos that you see where like somebody, and then they get slapped in the face.
Yeah.
Well, I started doing that, and then Dusty was going to come in, on like the third one or whatever. Well, the next thing I know, the whole crowd is singing that first verse all a cappella, and we just let it roll. The problem was I started it in the wrong key.
Oh, shit.
So by the time we got to where I'm like, okay, we'll jump in right after they do this, and we'll come in. Well, all of a sudden I'm singing at the key that they were. Guitars start. Then I couldn't hear it. I could not find myself to pull myself back. It took like up to the chorus before I was actually able to hear it. I was like, oh, good idea. Again, we talked about doing something similar with that. Like, should we just start it out with them?
That'd be cool.
So yeah, little things like that when you play live, you learn how you might be able to manipulate and adjust it to get that kind of response that you want versus just, we just play our songs and you should react.
When you mix it up a little bit, do something, different, and it keeps it fresh, keeps people it keeps the show, especially when you're playing for 3 hours,
Oh yeah. Can get a little exhausted. You got to keep yourself entertained for the most part too. I mean, there's times where I'm looking at the set list, and especially if it's a song I struggle with, and I'm like, oh man, I put that too far into the set. I'm already strained out a little bit, and you just see yourself counting down to that song. You're like, 5 away, 4 away, 3 away. Okay, here we go.
Do you guys ever adjust a set in the middle of the show, or do you just?
Yeah, usually more for time and energy adjustments. It's usually cutting a song or maybe flipping to kind of like game time calls, like right then. I'll put the set list together. It vibes well on paper. We'll rehearse it that way. And then all of a sudden you get to the show and you're like, boom, boom, boom. You can feel kind of a climb, and all of a sudden you have that song that you thought would be kind of a right spot. Let's give them a break for a second, and bring them back in after that. You're like, no,
Let's just keep
we
the
got to
momentum.
ride this wave. So
Sure.
we'll like, I'll be like, cut next song, hop to next, so we'll do a quick adjustment like that on the fly
Oh yeah,
sometimes.
you got to read the crowd, man.
Yeah.
It's like, or if it's not vibing, you got to like pull in
Yeah.
a heavy hitter, something that's going to get everybody back into it.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, you got to read the crowd. You know, guys that have, those set lists or the song list of, a couple hundred songs. I'm like, oh my God, how can they pull that off? Like just pull anything out of the bag. I'm like, I have to know what I'm going to do and kind of be somewhat ready.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, get super stressed out. It feels like I've never actually sang the song before. It's like, I don't know the words.
Yeah. It's nice to have that pre-game plan where you like are already kind of prepared.
I'm a project manager in my real life, so planning is always something I'm doing. So it's leaked its way into my regular life too. Just ask my wife; she hates it.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
to be prepared.
The funny thing is, in our real life, she's like, "Do you want to do this or this?" And she's planning trips. I'm like, "You take that. I plan all the time. I don't band or work.
You can
handle that."
I'm exhausted on the planning thing.
Yeah, I don't want to think about it.
Yeah. So yeah, and then you mentioned too the St. Patrick's Day thing. You guys have been doing that pretty consistently as well, huh?
Yeah. Like I said, fortunate enough to kind of get locked in. Now there's an expectation that I'm going to dress up as a leprechaun all the time now.
Yep.
So that's been a little more expensive than I thought because I have to buy a new outfit each year. It seems like. So I'm trying to find like a legit one. Everything's like these Amazon orders, kind of very Halloween costume style.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, if there's any real leprechauns out there, if you have an extra suit, let me know. What? Oh yeah.
No, I don't, well, I have a Conor McGregor suit that I wore one year.
There you go. Yeah, we'll pull it off.
That'd be funny.
He's pretty close to it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess as far as like the Halloween costume thing goes, it makes sense that you'd have to do that because you got to be able to see it from down the street, you know what's going on. So bright colors and
exactly. Yeah, I think the first year we did it, I just painted my beard and maybe threw on a vest or something.
Mm-hmm.
Might have had the hat. I remember Dusty had a big, like, green afro on and stuff. Yeah, so that was a fun time. And then after that, it's like, well, maybe I should just start really leaning towards this like leprechaun thing. And I found the costume, that next year I think. And after that, just kind of became something I'm now expected to do, and I have a blast doing it too. So
I was gonna say too is you guys do a really good job of just stage presence in general and just
thank you.
Just the performance wise, not just the music, but the actual like just the energy and all that stuff. It's all there.
It's honestly in my opinion, anyways, that's probably the hardest part.
Oh, absolutely.
To be conscious about because all of us in bands, we want to play the songs, we want to play them well, and it's kind of a sliding scale, of kind of diminishing returns. It's like you could play everything perfect or sing as perfect as you could, but that might require you staying very still and really concentrating. And what are you now losing in terms of kind of that connection with the crowd and managing that energy? So it's like somewhere in there, it's okay to mess up. Somewhere in there, it's okay to not be able to play or sing the best that you can if you're adding something else. So like, where's that? Keep sliding that dial around and kind of figuring out. And that's why I gave up on playing the guitar because I couldn't move around the stage the same way I wanted to.
It's a lot of extra stuff to focus on.
Yeah, and I was like, I just need some other guys like they're guitar players. They can focus on playing guitar or still singing backup or whatever, but takes one less thing out of my hands so I can have a little more flexibility and stuff too. But I still love playing guitar. I've never considered myself a vocalist by any means. Just kind of where I accidentally landed after, throwing the band together after some weird kind of incidents, and here we are.
Yeah. I always have a hard time engaging the crowd because I'm like fairly ADHD.
Yeah.
Not ADHD, just like I if I get distracted, I forget what I'm doing or I forget lyrics, things like that. So I end up just having to like look above people's heads so that I'm not, if I make eye contact or somebody's doing something silly or somebody's like fighting, you never know. Like something's going on in the crowd and I get distracted. I lose either my timing or the lyrics, whatever it is. I just get thrown off. When we played at the pub station, we did a little like kind of a tribute thing to Lane Staley because we were playing the Alice in Chains tribute.
Yep.
We weren't playing it, but we were opening for that. And so we're just like, let's just throw that in there as just to make it part of the night, you
Right.
know. So I had everybody pull out their lighters and stuff, and or their cell phone lights. And I got distracted because I was like, "Damn, there's a lot of lights out here. Like that's pretty cool. People are doing this."
Yep.
And before I knew it, it was time for me to sing my part.
Oh no.
And I knew I got on track, but I sang the wrong line.
Yep.
So I had to flop the verses because
That's still impressive that you were able to do that, because sometimes I'm like, I don't remember what the first verse was anymore. I'm singing the second, and I'm on to the second, but I don't still remember what the first is, so I just go double up.
well, it's hard to do when that's harder when you're doing covers because everybody knows the song.
Yeah, so you mess up their favorite song.
Everybody knows.
It's not forgiving. Yeah.
Well, even if it's not their favorite, it's a song they know, they've
Right.
heard before. It's like,
I had a moment. We were playing, getting ready to play Ice Ice Baby. So Steve, and I've sang the song hundreds of times, maybe 1,000 times. All right, stop, collaborate. How do you forget that, right?
Right.
My daughter's standing in front of me, and I don't know. I just looked at her, and for some reason, like I could feel like her mouthing the lyrics to the second verse, and I committed. So I went into the second verse right away, and I'm like, talk about a miss on it, because like an iconic start of a song. All right, stop.
yeah,
I totally missed that part. I'm like, God dang.
it's
And I'm still talking about it. And this was 3 years ago. You know, it's like you just remember those moments. You're like, oh,
but they're good because then it helps keep you
yeah.
dialed in, and you're like, I don't want to do that again. So you're always,
Yep.
it's just it's not beating yourself up about it, but it's just learning from mistakes.
And that's just it. You know, it's so easy for all of us in bands to pick apart what we did or didn't do, what we thought we messed up on. We know because it's so amplified in our heads, and you know, and you miss a note and you just fret on it over the night. You know, most of the crowd doesn't know. Again, if you're still doing all those other factors and creating other things for them to enjoy. But I love, you know, how you mentioned getting distracted by seeing what's going on in the crowd. It's like a majority of our conversation after the show is not necessarily how we played, or like, did you see so and so, or did you see what was going on, or you're like, because you're watching all this stuff, and,
Yeah.
and like you said, sometimes you're like, "Wait, I didn't know those two were together." Or you're just seeing things, and you're just like, while you're still processing what you're supposed to be doing, you're taking all these other things in too. That's why I love it though when the lights are so bright. Sometimes you can't see the crowd, because then you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like I'm
looking at you, but I'm not.
You just got to pretend like you're looking at.
You are.
You're like pointing at people, and it's like,
Yep.
I don't know who I'm pointing at.
Yeah, other than when I pull my hat down, I can kind of see, you know, the front row a little bit or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it's fun to be up there because you have such a different experience than what they have, you know, and you're seeing different things and stuff. But it's all a blast. I love it.
So aside from like the downtown, you know, just like the community events, what other, like, how many shows do you think you guys play a year?
9.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
That's a good number.
Yeah, we try to not oversaturate.
That's I've try and tell people that all the time. It's
Yeah.
like when you're playing every other weekend, like
Yep.
we were trying to do that for a while, and it's like, people aren't going to show up to every show.
Especially when you're trying to grow a community like that a little bit. You played last weekend or even 2 weeks ago. You do another show and like, well, we just saw them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go check out something else. So trying to figure out, you know, how much to let it build so it truly is an event kind of thing where everybody's like been waiting for another get together with that community of people that has started to form around it. So trying to figure that out, you know, and we've taken some longer breaks this year just due to personal things going on. You know, we all have regular lives too that we have to schedule around.
It's a factor.
We always take August off. Got a lot of boaters, campers, and stuff, you know, and that's kind of prime time for that. So we always have all of August off. So yeah, I think I'll say once a month at the most, and trying to span those out a little bit. Unless we have like a corporate gig or some private kind of thing, we might double up a couple weekends.
That's a little bit different though. Like that's kind of a private party in a way almost.
Back in the day though, yeah, I mean we were whores. We played
every bar.
Oh man, because we were trying to get that community, get our name out. Obviously, we were doing all those little things. We did a live after 5 on a Thursday. Then we did a fix at 6 the next night, and then on Sunday played another parking lot party for Wounded Warriors. So it was 3 days straight of 3-hour shows.
Right.
And back in the day when we this current iteration, you know, minus the keyboard player, you know, with Jay now, but we were doing these colors because we were kind of in the 90s theme for a while there. We were kind of like a 90s band, so we were bringing back the hot pinks and, you know, those fluorescent colors from that era. So we would promote a color. We would just do our whole image for our Facebook page was just a color, and it was kind of like, if you know, you know. So that was the
So
color.
people would come out
wearing that color.
Okay.
So we were doing these nights in a row. So we had certain colors for each night, you know. So again, you're trying to create kind of that kind of chive thing. It's like a little secret community, like, you know, certain things about it, and like, oh, why is everybody wearing pink? Did I miss the memo? Yeah, you did. You want to be part of this thing, right? So we were trying to find those little marketing angles, you know, where we could try to create interest in the band other than just the music, you know, like, again, kind of more about the community. Because I'd say while we are a band, the service we provide is just, you know, something that's bringing those like-minded people together, creating a positive environment to have fun. And then again, by spreading those shows out a little bit, you leave them wanting more. You know, if you keep doing it too much, you kind of lose that a little bit. And still, even at the pace that we're playing, you still got to figure out how to keep them interested. You know, I've been to their last 3 shows and they played the same songs. It's like, yeah, we know. We know too.
They're like, we only got, you know, we don't have infinite amount of.
Yeah, so they think you're a jukebox sometimes.
Well, especially if you're playing 3 in a row.
Right.
It's like, you can't rehearse all of them.
Yeah. We put a promo video together with the band at that time. It's out on YouTube somewhere. Go find it. It's horrible. But yeah, it's like just us on the cell phone, you know, trying to, I don't know, stitch together some little promo thing for those 3 nights and stuff. It was fun. You know, like I said, all those things were lessons learned. You look back on them now and cringe a little bit. And I'm sure stuff that I do now, I'll probably look back on and cringe, but yeah, that's part of the game.
I feel this. Half these episodes, I'm like, I'm gonna look back and be like, dude, what were you thinking?
Oh, dude, like I said earlier, the ones that you do where it's just you talking to the camera, I'm like, how do you do that? It's like, that's tough.
I mean, it's been 4 years doing it, so you know, the first couple were probably pretty rough, and then you finally just get a groove, and
yeah, you're doing great at it. So
thanks, man. Oh yeah, I had to ask, what's the origin of the spandex?
So the Zuba pants.
Yes.
Yep. So where it started was back at the Squire. Again, we didn't really have I didn't have kind of a thing, I guess you'd say, at that time. We got asked to play a 90s party. So I'm like, oh, I used to have Zubas back in the day, back in the 90s, you know, it's the era I grew up in until the bodybuilders started wearing them, and then they ruined it for everybody else. But I got curious. I'm like, oh, maybe Bugle Boy suspenders, you know, that was kind of a trendy thing, you know, kind of in the hip hop, you know, boy band thing. So I was looking at those. I'm like, $70 for these, you know, bib overalls or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm like, what about Zubas? So I Google Zubas, find out. I'm like, oh, they're still actually a company. You can buy like all the sports teams colors in you know, the different zebra prints and all that. I'm like, oh, okay. Hot pink, hot green, you know, bought a couple pairs, you know, for this party that we're playing. And then it just kind of stuck after that.
Yeah.
And kind of like the leprechaun thing, I did it for a few shows.
And then people expected it.
It kind of became my look, I guess, for a bit. And my theory was, I'm like, okay, yeah, you drive by and you see some dude on a stage and you see this, you know, big
bright
banner of leopard stripes or something, like, oh, I know that band. You don't even have to hear us yet. You might be able to recognize us, you know, and just know that that's who we are. But yeah, lately I swapped, though, because Zubas was starting to run out of colors and kind of like new songs. I'm like, I need to freshen up the look. So now I'm finding a little more other brands or other styles, you know, joggers with crazy patterns or just colors and stuff.
Just something to stick out.
Yeah, exactly.
Just another element to the show.
You know this too, probably. Wardrobe is always hard to figure out, you know, like what's your look, you know?
Yeah.
So what do you want to look like on stage? You know, it's like, are we wearing black, or are we wearing an accent color? You know, trying to figure out what that looks like is weird too.
I try so hard to not think about that aspect of it, just because I'm like, well, first of all, I have a hard time because we used to do that back in the day. Like, we'd all figure out like, what's everyone wearing? Let's kind of like look a little bit congruent here. Like, let's kind of like look the part. But now it's just like we're all adults and shit. It's like, it's hard for me to be like, all right, guys.
So we just got off work and they're running to the stage.
Come on, let's make sure we're matching and do or whatever we you know. But
I think the key is, you know, there's plenty of bands that killed, don't get me wrong, that look like they just walked off the street and they have their regular street clothes on. I'm not saying you have to have a stage look necessarily,
but it helps.
It does help, and I think if you're not talking about it, whether you do it or not, if you stop strategizing about things, that's when it's going to start going down. So
I hear you.
You got to kind of always be thinking about, the different angles. If your band has gotten so tight and you're relying so much on the music, great. But don't stop talking about what else you can do. Like, what are those other little tweaks? And like for us, we talk about, let's have a singing practice. Let's, strip down because, we're not jamming loud. I mean, we all have in-ears, but still you just get a lot of bleed through. So we talk about, let's work on, consistency in our vocal performance. Let's focus on dynamics, like we play that song okay and everybody loves it, but it's just like, just constantly kind of hitting at a level where, like, how can we create some breath in there a little bit and, create some good dynamics. So the average person doesn't know that you're doing that, but they feel something better about it. It's like you've still played that song for them before, but how can we still make it better or feel better or the show better? And if you stop talking about that, I think you're on the road to ruin.
Right. No, yeah, you always got to be preparing for the next, or just how to keep it fresh, how to keep it, so it's not like the same show everybody's seen before.
Exactly. Yeah, because they'll get bored, you'll get bored. So yeah, set up new challenges for yourselves and for the band. Try to establish your mission statement so you have that North Star that you're always kind of going for. Okay, so but what's the next steps? How do you really get there? If you just keep trying to look at that and just go for that, you're never really going to get there.
Right.
Keep moving away from it. And I think we'll always move away because everything changes, so that's why you got to keep talking about it. It's like, still the North Star, but it's over here a little bit
Yeah,
now.
you just got to navigate a little differently.
Yeah.
So outside of music,
Yeah.
what are some other things you enjoy?
Boy, I'm pretty simple. Spending obviously a lot of time with my wife. Like we were talking about, I was supposed to go golfing today, but we actually golfed the last few days and decided.
Well, and you picked a good day to not. It's freaking scorcher out there.
Yeah, so just spending time with her, hanging out. Obviously, we're downtowners, so we get out and about, go watch music and stuff quite a bit. I do mountain biking, so try to stay fit because, like I said, I'm getting old. Gotta keep moving things around and
I need to
staying active.
I need to start doing that, man. I've been spending too much time working on a different kind of six pack.
Yeah.
It's
tough. Yeah, to squeeze all your passions in and then
still maintain.
Yeah. So I got 2 grandkids now, so we spend time with them and two kids as well. So yeah, just living life, I guess. I don't really have, like I said, any other things I do for fun other than like I said, music, a little bit of fitness stuff, and I'm not a foodie. I don't have all those other things. I'm not a sports guy. Talk to you about that in the bars a little bit.
That takes up so much of my life. Like, as much as I love, and I think about that sometimes, but I'm like, it's something I love.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it comes from in my DNA that I'm just like, this is something I enjoy. But I do think about how much time it takes, especially when, now it's this season.
Yeah.
Oh, and Saturday night, there's a UFC fight. That takes up my Saturday night.
And don't get me wrong, I love watching a good game. I watch UFC. I actually watch Formula One. I just watched the race today.
Nice.
So I do pick some little things because I know my personality. If I, like I said, I played football. I like football. If I started watching football, I know how my brain would be, and I would get too far into it, and it would take away from something else.
Mm-hmm.
And arguably, even the things I love, I waste so much time at. I mean, I grab the guitar. I'm like, I'm going to sit down tonight and have a good session. Grab it. Hop on YouTube because I'm curious about something. I'm like, how am I playing that wrong? Well, next thing I know, I've watched YouTube for 3 hours and played my guitar for 3 minutes.
Shit.
So I suffer from the curse of distraction. So some of my best sessions, like just sitting down and playing guitar, I'll take my little practice amp out on our balcony so I'm away from my computer. It's harder to look things up on my phone, or whatever, and just play. I'm like, sometimes I just forget. Just go play. It's like you think I gotta go fix these little things or I'm gonna practice. Just play.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, I don't ever practice singing. I don't consider myself a vocalist. I probably have a reminder on my phone right now, like find a vocal lesson, find something to try to, improve upon, the things. But it's like so hard. It's like Sunday night. I don't want to practice singing. I'm gonna grab my guitar and have some fun with it.
That's where I kind of have that issue a little bit myself, where I don't consider myself a singer, but that's what I do. Like, that's all I do. So, like, I have to be a singer.
Somebody handed you the mic and said, hey, you're the only one left. You're the singer.
Yeah, see, that's tough because it's like, I'm not trained. I was in, like, honor choir in high school. Not high school, middle school.
That's still impressive.
It's
Are you disciplined? Like, do you warm up before shows and stuff?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Like, my discipline more comes from, because I'm always singing, like, sing in the house, or I'll obviously do karaoke a lot. Like
Yep.
that's kind of my practice grounds.
Gotcha.
It's kind of the way I look at it, because I've found my voice by doing pretty much by doing karaoke, honestly.
Really?
Because I just adjust the song to what works with my voice, or I find out like, oh, I can't do that. Like that's not
Gotcha.
in my range.
Yeah.
Let me adjust it and kind of make it my own version.
Mhm.
So through doing that for years, it kind of helped me find my voice a little bit.
That's
and
cool.
Figure out what
Yeah.
works for me and what doesn't.
Man, I've been surprised. I've ran into some really good singers at karaoke. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, they should be in a. That's the funny thing about I mentioned Pat Michaelis earlier, that sang for Repeat Offenders for that year there. Years prior, I can't remember how many years, but I got asked to be a judge for Billings Idol.
I remember that.
Big J was one of the judges. I think it was maybe kind of under one of the radio stations, but it was hosted at the Squire. They're like, "Oh, Ken, will you be a guest judge?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure." So went in, sat there, and we're watching these singers. And Pat, I didn't know him at that time because he just moved back from New York. He gets up and sings, and I'm like, "What is happening right now?" I'm like, I get done. I remember I'm like, "You're not a karaoke guy. I can tell you've sang in a band." I mean, he just had the sound, the energy, the presence, you know.
Mhm.
Come to find out, yeah, he was in a really cool band out in New York. Had played around here before I had moved here, so I wasn't familiar with him. And then, yeah, ironically later, he became the singer for Repeat Offenders for a bit. But
Small world.
amazing singer, just super powerful. Like I've always been jealous of the power that he has behind his voice. I'm like, I don't know. I've never had something come out of me from that low, you know, just ugh.
Yeah, it's tough because when you do sing, there's so many things that you can't do that you're just like, God, I wish I could do that. But then you
Yeah.
just got to realize, I'm doing what I can do. Like you can't be bummed that you're not able to do. You can't hit the high note,
Yeah.
or you can't get down low, or you can't.
I have that because I can't sing metal. I can't scream very well. Years ago, so Dusty, our drummer, and Steve, our bass player, played in a band called Left of Center with the two guitar players that are in Kicking Karma right now. And so Kicking Karma's, kind of got that, I'll say the 90s metal kind of thing covered, where that's kind of the genre there, and they're doing the Motley Crues, and stuff like that. Well, it's funny, after Kicking Karma, it kind of, I think they were breaking up or had broken up or whatever. I was going to sing with those four, and we were going to do like a Sunset Strip kind of thing, Rat and all that. And
Oh, hell yeah.
I was so excited because I grew up on that stuff, I couldn't sing any of it. I couldn't hit Vince's, they just singing a range that's so hard for me to hit. And I was so bummed. And anytime that happens, like even in this band, we wanted to sing, we don't do a Shania Twain song. I'm like, I came in with it. I'm like, I want to do Any Man of Mine. And I'm like, oh, that's such a cool idea, especially with me singing it, right?
Right.
Funny. Couldn't sing it. I'm like, tried to adjust the key, but we'd go this way, and then I couldn't hit one end of it. I'm like, so mad, because I'm the limitation. The guys can play anything. It's like,
Right. That's what sucks too. Is
Yeah.
like if you get a good guitar, somebody who can play guitar, they can play damn near anything.
They can play anything. Yeah, it's like,
But-
I'm limited.
Yeah, that is kind of the bummer about vocals. But yeah, like I was telling you, I kind of I feel like a lot of the times in the music scene here, or just within these bands, because there's so many talented people.
Mm-hmm.
I have like a what do you call it? The imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
where I'm like, I don't feel like I belong in this group of people because, I don't have the training, like the musical background. Like I don't,
Yeah.
even with timing and stuff, like the way I count for time on songs is, I don't think it's the traditional way of doing
Oh, really?
it. Yeah. Like I more listen for cues in songs, like
Mm-hmm.
rather than like, I mean, I can count
Yeah, yeah.
verses and stuff, or however many measures and stuff like
Right.
that. But most of the time, I'm just listening for cues for when I'm to come in.
Mm-hmm.
Because and I've gotten better. Obviously, the more that you play,
Yeah.
you learn other techniques. But starting out, no, I was bad on timing. I was bad on like getting myself on time with what they were with everyone else doing.
Yeah.
So it's been a learning curve, and I kind of just learned by doing rather than
See,
like.
and for somebody watching, I would have never known that, so it's something that you personally struggle with that doesn't, I guess, that people don't experience it. It's your internal thing.
Yeah.
Because you must have been hitting it or something. Because
Well, like I said, after so many years, you figure it out.
You do.
Kind of,
Yeah.
you learn to, and when you practice makes perfect. So,
Well, and that's what we were talking about earlier about people getting out and seeing things, or finding things to do in Billings and finding, bands that are, say, playing in the genre or the kind of music that you might like, or just random into them, and then like, I can tell they're starting out, but I like what they're doing. I see kind of where
the
they're
potential.
going. It's fun to come back. So follow them, come. And I've seen so many bands go from here to here, and I'm like, yeah. Then they usually break up, and I'm like, damn it.
Oh, that's the worst.
It's hard, right? The stories. But
Well, and when you got 4 or 5 people in a band, like that's 5 individual lives that are
Yep.
trying to juggle
yeah,
real, your daily life plus trying to keep this essentially a hobby alive, or
Yeah.
just the thing you love.
unless you're like a truly pro band,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're looking for those right members, and it is more of a business than it is,
For fun.
for fun. Find the people first. You might not be the best band, like technically, I guess I should say. But if you're having fun with your buddies, I mean, that's been the one thing. I think Jay was the missing link, in terms of just 5 guys getting together. Tana was great too. She was. We had some fun jokes, just having the girl in the band and stuff too. But having Jay being one of the guys, and he's our closer to heart. He's the oldest in our band now, but we're all close in age in terms of we've all crested or close to that 50-year range. We have similar mindsets, so we all kind of share the same approach to things, and it's nice to just have those kinds of guys or people you're playing with. And if you can find that first, the rest will come. You'll all get better in the way that you can play,
Hmm.
and not have to worry about being the best in your own right as a guitar player, drummer, or singer, whatever it is. I think so.
Well, you got to have chemistry, like,
because they can feel it.
oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's pretty apparent when like you're just 4 strangers playing with each other on stage versus if you're friends that you
sure.
you can go out and hang out with each other outside of the band.
Yeah.
And it's that chemistry is definitely important.
100%. Yeah, I think it starts there in many ways. I mean, yeah, you can start with you don't know each other, create a couple of good songs, but if you ever don't get to that point where you have that chemistry with the band, at least in a way that it's doable. It's not like you have to be hanging out with each other
Right.
all the time necessarily, but it's been beneficial for us that it just worked out to be that way. Like when we're not playing, there's probably a handful of us that are out together. We're just all friends and stuff now. So
Yeah, no, and it makes better for you working together and stuff
Yeah,
like that, because
yeah.
then you respect one another. You can like listen to criticism, or you can give criticism.
Yeah.
It just makes a working environment a lot easier to like gel with each other.
And you probably are still talking about the band when you go out, So
Mhm.
it's like it's part of your core, you have this relationship with these people and stuff. So, and I assume you guys have that in Cutthroat because I see you guys out quite a bit together too,
Oh, yeah.
or at least a handful of you that can.
Well, it helps that me and Aaron are cousins, so.
I don't know if I knew this.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah, we're cousins.
Okay.
Our dads are brothers.
Oh, right on.
So that helps in that alone, just for me and him. But
yeah.
But then
We
like
don't want any family drama, so you got to keep that together.
right. I mean, our family's been full of drama, but I can't imagine. Me and him we're like brothers,
Awesome.
like.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
And then Justin, I've been in bands with. He's the only person I've ever been in every single band with.
Okay.
So we've consistently been playing together. So we just have, and we went to high school together, so we were friends outside of music too.
Yeah.
And then Drew, our other guitar player, he works with me at Toyota, and so yeah, we already worked together. But when we first started getting everything together, he was telling me that he played guitar. I was like, well, let me hear some of your stuff, and he shreds. I'm like, dude, and he'd never been in a band before.
Oh, yeah, just in the basement or the bedroom, huh?
And so this was his first band. And I was just like, great. And it was one of those things where I know everybody. Well, actually, I didn't know Lucas going into the band, our drummer. I didn't know him going into it, but it just worked out where everybody got along with everybody.
Perfect.
And everybody just, like you said, has similar thought. Your brains work very similarly. Obviously, you can bond over music. That's at least one point that you can bond over.
And you can still fight or have arguments or
Sure.
disagreements, I guess is probably the best term, because, everybody, like you said earlier, has got different ideas on things. So, people bring up things, or you'll negotiate and try to figure it out, and hopefully land in a good spot with it and stuff, But like I said, I think we all probably came from bands too, or we're even guilty party of being the ones that were overcritical. Honestly, that's probably why I quit the band the first time, I was that guy.
Mm.
I mean, I was always shooting for the stars, and that can be exhausting. This is our fun thing to do, and here I'm just the driver, just trying to get, somewhere and had big ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just got to the point where I'm like, I got mentally exhausted on trying to take it somewhere. And when I came back, I'm like, you know what? It's a good thing. I don't need to mess it up with my big ideas. Trust me, they're still there a little bit, and they still get inserted now and then. But
Sure.
I had to,
Pump the brakes
a little bit, and slow down and just realize where I'm at in life. I'm like, why, what am I gaining by putting that much pressure into the band on myself and all this? Like, what is that really going to get us? Another 2% of something?
Well, and sometimes that in and of itself will help.
Yeah.
Even when you let off a little bit, and you just let the fun take over a little bit.
I was going to say, the fun is what I was probably squashing for myself, probably mostly. So yeah, I think we're in a good place now.
Oh, you guys put on a damn good show, and
Thanks, man.
I'm looking forward to Thursday.
Me too.
Sweet.
I just got nervous talking about it.
That's another thing. Nerves are so good. Like, I love being nervous before a show because it shows that you care.
Oh, I got more nervous the other night. We went down and watched Soul Funk Collective play down at Thirsty Street. Been golfing all day. I was in a tournament. My wife and I come rolling in. John was there with us and our buddy Hud. And we're sitting there just jamming out. My wife loves soul funk. I think she likes them better than repeat. Actually, I know she likes them better than Repeat Offenders. But amazing band, right? Well, I'd mentioned to the band or Brooke or somebody at one point. I said, hey, at some point, if there's ever a chance to sing California Love with you guys or to do the rap part or whatever, I'd love to. Because they nail it. They got the voice wah or whatever on there and stuff. I'm like, such a cool song. Well, we're sitting there right up front. Like I said, I'm kind of half in the bag. I've been golfing all day, sun, beers, whatever. She's like, I think Kenn Patterson's in the house. And I'm like, oh no. Immediate sweat. I'm like, just so nervous.
Well, it's that thing again where it's like the preparation.
And again, it's like, I've sang the song hundreds of times, but different band. My mind's not maybe in the right place or whatever. I'm like, maybe she'll forget about it after they get going here a little bit. Well, no, she brings me up on stage and I rapped the Dre verse on that. And it was so fun. I'm like, I'm so glad I did it because I could have easily just been, no, but she teed it up nicely. So I'm like, now I got to do it.
Sometimes you just got to say yes. Sometimes you just got to like jump in the water.
Yeah, get yourself out of your comfort zone and who knows, you might fail, might nail it.
I this was last year sometime. It was early last year. I got to sing a Tool song with 1 second ago. They were doing their Were they doing their No, they were just doing their own stuff. But they threw in a couple of Tool songs because they do their Tool cover.
Mm-hmm.
And they had asked me because we were playing together, they're like, would you want to play Prison Sex with us? And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. Like, that's amazing. I'm a huge Tool fan,
I could hear your voice working well with Tool too.
And so I went and practiced with them a couple times, but dude, I was so nervous because these guys have been playing music a long time. I respect all these dudes.
Yeah.
And it's like the last thing I want to do is screw up anything they got going on or be the problem as I'm the one coming in.
Right.
And there was a couple, I was definitely nervous at those practices. I was sweating bullets by the showtime, Like, I had just got done playing a whole set.
Yep.
And I knew it was coming. And it all went off real well. It was cool. It was great. But even still, I was just like, all I could think about was like, don't screw this up.
See, and as much as I hate it, I love it because it shows you still care. Because if anybody says, I don't get nervous when I go on stage anymore, I can see being comfortable, like, but if you don't have some sort of anxiety, it feels like, do you not care as much anymore? Mm-hmm. I hope that that's what it means because, I'll have, I say more of an anxiety. John and I.
And that makes 2 audio issues today. I apologize for that. I think you're right. I need to clear some memory on that thing.
Maybe, yeah.
But we'll go ahead and just wrap this thing up here. I told you beforehand, I like to close the episodes with a positive or motivational message from the guest. Something you can just give back to the audience. Maybe something you've used in your life, something that has helped get you through life or just motivate you or whatever it is.
Yeah, you told me about this, and I actually didn't put much thought into it. I kind of forgot about it, but don't consider myself a motivational speaker necessarily. But I guess on the theme of a lot of the stuff we've been talking about, especially if you're playing music, I mean, this can go for anything too, is know what it is that you guys are trying to do. Set yourself a mission statement. Make sure the guys that you have with you are all sharing that, because again, finding the band of brothers or whatever it might be, having that group striving towards the same thing. Know your North Star, but know the steps to get there, those things that you need to work on, keep strategizing. So I don't know if that's a positive message, but just things that I think over time we've learned to apply. And again, we're just a local rock cover band or whatever. I think it applies for everything, especially if you're writing original music too. That can be where I think it's really hard, to have that shared vision about what it is. You're all still, adding your individual elements to create that thing, but you have to have that shared vision. So, I mean, you talking with your band, just kind of figure out and negotiate, kind of get to a place, make sure you're just all on that same path with each other.
Yeah. And I think that can go even further, like outside of music too, where it's like just be on the same wavelength with your fellow man.
Yeah, job, family, all of it. It's they're all tough in their own way. It's all about communication, I guess, if you want to break it down to a word. Yeah, communication and just kind of like I said, aligning on things and making sure you all can share in whatever vision you have for this entity of a band or whatever it might be that you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thursday, Alive After 5.
Yep.
We will see you down there. Everybody come on out. We got to make it the biggest Alive After 5. It's just going to get bigger and bigger, and they're going to have to extend the street.
Yeah, I think they're all getting bigger, so I'm hoping for the best. Obviously want to see everybody down there. So thank you for having me on, man.
Oh, dude, we'll have to do it again.
For sure. Thank you.
Right on. And thank you to everybody listening. Don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it.
You've got to